2020, I can't wait. This was said 10 years ago, Gary. It's here. What are we waiting for? What's great now that we're at 2020?
Well, there's a lot of things that are great going on right now. Not necessarily what we predicted 10 years ago would happen. A lot of things have materialized that have gone far beyond what we expected. I think we knew streaming media was going to be important 10 years ago, but streaming media is now accounting for almost half of some viewership in some households, and that's a lot. It's really changed the whole nature of what television is all about. The other one, we knew wireless was going to be important, and mobile phones were just getting into 4G a decade ago, and now we're on the verge of 5G. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow process of going to fifth generation wireless, but it's going to enable all kinds of wireless anywhere internet services, video and otherwise, as well as a lot of other things like smart cars and security and all kinds of things.
Well, and you touched upon security. That is something that seems to be a common denominator regardless of the technology, right?
Absolutely. Security, often tied into privacy, but definitely keeping secure for personal interests as well as national security interests. There's so many things that are at risk right now. And as we move into the Internet of Things era, again, something that was thought about a decade ago, smart refrigerators, smart TVs, but now we're talking about a whole lot of smart devices. The speakers, the smart speakers, which are an Internet of Things tool as well as a radio replacement or augmentation. So it's these kind of things that make it 2020 an exciting time, a little like we expected, but far beyond what we could have anticipated.
Now, you've been looking at this for many years, and I want to jump back. I know you don't necessarily want to talk about it, but why don't you tell us first a little bit about CUBE, because probably no one in the audience knows about it now. But
CUBE, Q-U-B-E, was a very early, low-level interactive TV venture that Warner Cable actually had developed. It was tested in Columbus, Ohio, and a few other cities. It was politically and corporate mentality. It was an effort to win franchises, to show that cable TV could do more than just retransmit television signals and deliver something new. It worked, and Warner Cable got quite a few franchises. But the whole idea, it was just a polling system. It was basically, you could pick you had five choices. You had a very simple remote control, and you could vote on things. You could pick a TV show that would transmit. They would transmit. This is using analog technology from the 1980s, actually the 1970s. It was very far-sighted, but it just didn't go very far. And at the same time, there were dozens of other similar interactive cable projects. There was something called Play Cable that was a joint venture with Mattel. It had one of the early video game systems, and you could play video games through your cable without actually buying the game. Again, it seems so simple because it's so routine nowadays. You do everything on your handset, your phone, or your tablet. But back then, this was absolutely revolutionary. And there were probably a half dozen other things in the 80s, into the 90s, that sort of envisioned what the future might bring us. The funny part about it is, and in the 80s, we worked on this was the period where companies like America Online and CompuServe and Prodigy, names from the ancient past, were just taking shape, and they had a vision of what an online service would be. And as recently as 1990, I would sit on a plane, people say, what are you working on? I say, this idea to hook up a phone line to a computer so you can look up the news and write emails and look up movies and watch films and play games, do your financials and banking. And people would say, who would ever want to do anything like that? It really changed. There's just a lot of things fell into place quickly, but it took 15 years for that to happen.
And you've been following this, and you've been making these predictions. You've been on that cutting edge for the decade since the Cube. I mean, so kind of looking forward, we talked about things like holograms and things like that. What are your thoughts kind of in these 2020s as we move forward?
We're recording this on the eve of CES, and so there's all kinds of promises that are out there. I do expect much more coming from streaming and from wireless services. I think there's a whole lot of creative work that's being done separately from what we see here at CES, but you see glimmers of it. The whole nature of smart everything, not just smart TV and smartphones and smart homes and smart cars, but the whole nature of artificial intelligence coupled with virtual reality and a lot of other augmented reality, what they call XR, any reality, is a harbinger of big things to come. On the creative side, it means doing things that you just can't physically do. It poses some interesting challenges, or problems as some might say. I mean, you really don't need an actor if you can render just a perfect synthetic actor out of computer graphics. There's artificial intelligence software that can write a script. The script's actually one movie has been made based on a script written by a computer. It didn't work. But
other computers liked it, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. It got a little play, but the issue is, it's like anything else. I was at a Christmas party recently, and we were talking about the Flintstones and the Jetsons. If you remember those shows, they were the same script, but one took place in prehistoric times, and one took place now in the future. But the fact is, a lot of, as we all know, in novels, books, everything, there's a handful of storylines. You can teach a computer what the storylines are: boy meets girl, adventure, bad guy shoots him up, whatever it is, and you can have a computer create a story from that. I think a more immediate thing, which actually is happening right now, and Sony has a lab in Paris, a global lab that's working on writing music. Again, they know how to write music. There's rules of how you compose a song and what it's supposed to entail. I believe one of the computer-generated soundtracks is for a movie, a Sony movie. You really don't need an expensive composer. You probably are better off having a talented, knowledgeable composer. But the issue is, could a computer write a popular song? And the answer is yes. And that leads the lawyers to salivate, as they always have. Who owns the rights to that?
Yeah.
If it's based on, one of the algorithms would be you write a new song based on what you know works in a movie. Is it supposed to be heart-rending during a love scene, or is it supposed to be peppy? And they take enough of those musical examples, sample them, and then the computer learns how to write a new song based on what it knows. The lawyers will say, well, is that fair use of an existing copyrighted piece? So there's all these things that are so exciting about what's going to happen next.
Well, I know here at CES I got a press release from a company that's making an Astro, the dog from the Jetsons. They're doing something similar, and I've been joking about that for a while, and now someone actually is coming out with that. Whether it's going to be emotionally satisfying like a real dog, I don't know.
Well, that's the big issue. No one knows. I think William Golden, the famous Hollywood scriptwriter, said, nobody knows nothing. and what we're facing right now is a lot of money is riding on how big these things get. There's great ideas out there, but they cost a lot. And what I've learned from the CUBE experience and many others since then is that no one does predictions very well. You can come close. And I mean, I look at my own predictions from 10 years ago, and about 50% are pretty much here. Some of them were very easy the wild cards are what throws everybody, that something comes out of nowhere and just changes the whole playing field. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of issues financially, economically, and now globally that we don't know where that's going to go. But it's even in my old age, as I get through all this, I feel young because I feel there's so many stories still to be told about this, and I want to be around to watch a few more of them unfold.
Well, excellent, Gary, and you are young at heart, and I really appreciate the chance to catch up with you.
Ken, it's always good to see you in such a great playground like this.
Exactly.